If you want to stay up to date with all current hip hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to become part of this community. So today I wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on DMX's latest album, which is also his first posthumous album after he passed away a couple of weeks ago. Rest in peace. This thing is called Exodus. It's named after his son, and we can later on see an influence from that in the album. But first of all, I want to talk about how important this album was. Of course, following his tragic passing from an accidental drug overdose, but then it also came to the point that, for example, Lil Baby and Lil Durk, delayed their collaborative album, The Voice of the Heroes, in honor of DMX dropping the same day, because just all of hip hop wanted to see this legend, shine one last time. I made a video about, how that happened, so you can go back and watch that. But today I actually wanted to talk about the actual music on this album. Just a disclaimer, I am not a big die-hard core DMX fan. I'm a pretty young guy, so it's I didn't grow up listening to him, so in a lot of ways I probably can't relate to how influential he really was. I of course know that he is such a legend. I've listened to all his old stuff, but I just want to give that as a disclaimer, because maybe in some parts I'll do him wrong, but that is not intentional. That's just because I didn't grow up during that time and didn't grow up listening to him. But anyway, the first impression we had from this record was kind of the track list, which we got about a week before. There were a lot of interesting features on there that I think a lot of people were excited for. We had another Jay-Z and Nas reunion on Bath Salts, which is a standout track. I think it's the one doing the best commercially so far. I really have a love-hate relationship with that horn synthesizer used in that track all throughout. I know that it sounds kind of good, but then it also gets annoying after some time. So if you've listened to the track, you know what I mean. I want to know what you think about this. But that's an amazing track. I think both of them killed it. Nas is on here later on as well on the track Walking in the Rain, which is another highlight for me. This also features his son, Exodus Simmons, who the album is named after, originating from a Bible verse. Walking in the Rain is truly, Nas has an amazing verse on here, and I think this track is really just an anthem for self-reflection and kind of, going through rough patches in your life. Another highlight for me was also Letter to My Son, Call Your Father, featuring Usher, which is a direct, letter to his son, Exodus. DMX is talking about his use of drugs on this record. He's talking about how he wants to, his son to grow up, be mature and all that. And it really seems like this is an actual letter that he wrote and then just put in rap form, which is something that I always appreciate when artists do this, because, that's just very personal, very authentic, very genuine. And I love that. Now, it's just one verse on that track. The rest of it is just a long outro, but the vibe is perfect on this one. We see some more religious themes on this record with the outro prayer, where it's literally just DMX reciting a prayer. But I do think that in the context of this album, it fits pretty well. It's kind of scary and eerie to hear him say all this after he died, because obviously most of this record was recorded before he passed, even though sometimes I feel like some of the features were fillers for some, gaps in there, but I still think, or like to think, that this was how he imagined the album to eventually be. Now, a lot of people have already told me on stream or in the Discord that they really like the production on here, that the production is really good. We have Swizz Beatz on a lot of these tracks. He's also someone who has been responsible for kind of the rollout for the album. He was the one that announced that Baby and Durk have delayed The Voice of the Heroes in honor of DMX. And I gotta agree that a lot of the production is really good. Now, one thing that I, particularly noticed is that a lot of these tracks are really skeletal, starting with the first track, That's My Dog, then especially with Bath Salts, Dogs Out, and also later on with the Hood Blues with Griselda on it. a lot of the tracks are really minimalistic in the production. They have like, of course, like some bouncy drums that fit kind of a DMX style. Then we have kind of like a synthesizer, but something that's not really on the low end, more like how you would usually use an instrument. And that really leaves space for, DMX's deep, dark voice. And that's something that, of course, he's famous for. That's kind of his just, stand-out selling point. And I like that the production was really made to fit that. So they really leave out that low end because they know that his voice is going to occupy that end of the spectrum. And that's something that I can appreciate. That is amazing. If a producer sits down and is like, yo, this artist has this and this type of voice, and that's why we're gonna produce the track in a different way, because we want to leave enough space for that artist's voice and his tone of voice, then that is amazing. And I think that really makes for a project that feels coherent, that feels put together. Now, something that I read in a lot of online reviews on this, I think on Pitchfork, on wherever else, is that some people said that this was pretty loose. It wasn't, very well structured. I think this has a lot to do with the amount of features we have on here. As I said, for example, that Letter to My Son song is only about like a minute of rapping with just one verse, and then just a 3-minute outro, which is not bad, but when you put it in the context of the rest of the album with all of these features that really kind of take away from a lot of the stuff that DMX does. I mean, when you listen to the record, you didn't know it was a DMX record, you could just as well think it was from anybody else, because he, not rarely, but he gets just as much as attention as the features, and that's usually not the way that I want it to be. That's one thing that I didn't like. So I'm kind of worried, or in hindsight worried, that some of these features were just used as gap fillers for some gaps he had in there after not being able to complete this record. But still, this thing I think is a perfect example of what production can really compensate and really do for an artist's voice. So if you're into that and you want to listen to a great record that's not necessarily all DMX but just great hip-hop, then I would recommend this thing. Exodus DMX I think is a fitting kind of ending to his career, even though that sounds really sad, but prayers go out to his family, especially to his son, who's probably very affected by this, but is also very honored in by his father making this record, naming it after him, referencing him so many times. So rest in peace, DMX. Exodus, this record will live on. A lot of people will remember it. So that's my opinion on it. Now I want to know what you think about this. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What songs did you like? What did you think of the production, of the features? So let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media and blog down in the description. It really helps me out. Until the next one, y'all have an incredible day, and y'all take care.